Hey everybody, ready for another one. Going to keep pumping these videos out. This was another knife I received this week in the haul of knives that I ordered and got in from dealers. All of these that I got this week were production knives, and it was kind of that I wanted this production knife kick to get a bunch of knives that I've always liked the custom makers of, or the custom makers of the real knives. And then these production companies, some with good reputations, some with not so good reputations, have done these collabs with them or licensed out their design and come out with them. So the next video or two you might see some knives that have been around for a little while, but I finally ordered them or decided to try them out. And more recently, the videos before this were some of the newest ones that had come out that I wanted to show first, obviously because people were probably more excited to see those. The Microtech DOC with the bead blast finish, the RJ Martin design that Zero Tolerance did with the 0600, and then the one I just did, which was the Zero Tolerance 0801, which was the Todd Rexford design. This is not Microtech, this is not Zero Tolerance, this is Boker. And I don't want to start off saying that Boker, or putting them in, I guess, a negative light or something. I'm very new to knife collecting. Maybe that hasn't come through and I haven't really stated it in the videos I've done because I kind of just dove in and started making them and kind of got enveloped in this knife community and really involved in all the new stuff going on with it and everything that goes with that. But really, I do not know a ton about knives. I know what I know from researching it online, getting to know the intricacies, watching YouTube videos. I don't know, beyond that, there really isn't much more. I've always had Swiss Army knives and things like that, and my uncle used to work for Swiss Army years ago, so he always sent us knives, and you saw my father's collection of those. So I get that, but as far as all these custom makers and mid-techs and production companies, I really haven't been around that too long, and so it's kind of weird that I started off buying mid-techs like the Browse blades that I got into, and then even getting some customs like the Medford and the Jesse Jaras before I ever bought production knives. And so really it was almost that I had this kind of connotation that production knives aren't that great. You need to get mid-techs with handmade, and you need to get customs with full handmade and your design or their design with your customizations on it. But really, when I got through that first set of knives, I'm sorry guys, I've been talking this whole time and not even showing you anything. There you go, give you some action. As I was saying, really when you get into it, there's some design or custom makers or designs and stuff that you like, that a person likes, that I like, but that I'm not really going to probably buy the custom ever. That I'm not going to, and that the maker doesn't make a mid-tech version of it, or that they're never going to come down in price, or it's going to be hard to find them. And so that's when these production companies that make knives that have mass factories and do a ton of that kind of stuff license out their design and make a version that's affordable, that the everyday consumer has a better chance of getting, that are much wider in availability, that there's not only, in a year that custom maker makes, let's say 300, 400 knives, that production company can pump out 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 or something, as well as having obviously all their other lines of knives that the production company does. So it's not a big deal that you can get a ton of different kinds. But here what we're talking about is the Boker Plus, and Boker Plus meaning it's their higher end version. Think of it like Toyota and Lexus. You have Toyota and then you have their high end Lexus, or Nissan and Infiniti, Honda and Acura, that kind of thing. So they have Boker, and then they have the Boker Plus. It's Boker Plus Federal, and the Federal is the reference of the model that this knife is of GTC knives, and GTC stands for the designer, who is Gustavo, who makes these knives, and this is his model, the Federal. Right off the bat, once again, I am newer to knives. I'm not new to knives, not the YouTube guy, but I'm newer to knives. So when I get a new knife, I'm already excited about it. It's something different, it's something new, it's something to try out, and it's hard for me a lot of times to even be negative about knives. And I think if you look back at my first videos, I almost never said anything negative, and there may have been negative stuff that I just didn't even realize at the time. or not negative, but critical, or things that I maybe, now that I know more about knives or have gotten more in tune with what I like and what I don't like, that I would have commented on. And I think you see in the last 2 videos I did where I'm talking about production knives, I'm probably being more critical. One reason could be is that I'm talking about companies and not people. You know, I don't really want to, I think it's hard for me to get a custom-made knife or a mid-tech knife and then go on and say, well, I do this or that. I'm buying it for a reason, because that maker, that custom maker, did something that spoke to me, and I wanted to have it either out of materials or the performance or the look or the hand craftsmanship. Where with these productions, I can say, hey, you know what, here's my suggestion for you guys. Are they really going to listen? No, but it seems easier, and just because we say production, it's almost like we're allowed to rag on things a little bit more, and maybe we shouldn't, but that's my thoughts on it. But let's get into this knife particularly. It is Boker. It's my first Boker, so I don't have anything else to compare it to. I don't have to say that I've had 6 or 7 Bokers that have had issues. This is my very first one. And it doesn't really have any issues that I see, and literally I just got it yesterday, and I got a bunch of other knives, so it's hard that I haven't really had time to play with this one or any of them in a lot of time. But right off the bat, it flips well. Makes a very interesting sound when it flips. I'd say it's almost like or similar to, I'd say, a suit of armor, in that, you know, when they have a helmet, the knight wears the helmet and they slam the front face mask down. That's what this is. It's definitely sounding, it's a metal on metal sound. Not that other knives aren't that, but this thing is a clink. You know, it's clink, like, you know, 2 pieces of metal clanking against each other. Not to say that's not a good sound. I actually like it. I think it's cool. It's definitely different from some of the other stuff I've had. Maybe it's not as refined. I don't know if that's the word or term for it, but it definitely makes a unique sound. Specs on this, just so you guys know, it's a little bit off from the exact specs as the real GTC Federal HC, which stands for the hidden clip, which we'll talk about in a second. The specs on this are, let me just make sure, you have a blade length of 3.27 inches, and you have an overall length of 7.95 inches, and you have a handle thickness of about ½ an inch, a little over ½ an inch. The handle length when closed is about 4.7 inches. Materials: titanium frame, carbon fiber inlays, and 440C blade. And then the weight on this thing is 4.9 ounces. So not that heavy. Actually, you know, it's lighter than the 0801 that I just did. It doesn't feel that much lighter, but it is lighter. Technically, it is lighter. It feels about the same as the 0801 to me, which is about 1.5 ounces heavier than this technically on the paper. One of the reasons is because this has the cutouts with the carbon fiber, which lighten it up. But the blade is thicker, and that's one thing that's really neat about this. It has an extremely thick blade for this knife. That's 0.2 thick, I believe, when you look at it. And I like it. I think it's cool to have a thick blade on this thin knife, and it all depends on your preference. When you can have them all, when you have a thin blade and a thick blade on a big blade, or on a big handle, on a small handle, whatever it is, it's just cool for variety. So once again, it's me speaking out of probably a lack of experience, but I like the 0801 with the thinner blade on it, and I like this one with the thicker blade on it. They're both cool. Some macro shots for you. This is a satin finish, slight recurve drop point, hollow ground. There's the Boker Plus. There's your carbon fiber. There's your titanium. There's your milled out section. And this line here is for, you'll see on the other side, the pocket clip. This design, this all matches up with the GTC. It's pretty much identical as far as the look of what he does on these, of the Federal. And then you can see on this side, you know, comes to a good tip. Grind lines. There's your 440C, your GTC. Pivot, inlay carbon fiber, milled out sections, and then there's your pocket clip. This is a, I can't think of the word for it, but it's kind of a neat thing, but I don't think it works that well as far as the performance of it. The issue is it's made like the lock bar. So you push this and it clips onto your pants, right? The problem is you push this and it's at this angle and there isn't a lot of space here to slide anything into. I was able to put this on my khakis or on my dress pants I had for work. It's pretty simple. It slid in all right because that's thin. But on regular cargo pants, shorts, on jeans, it's almost impossible to get this far enough out and slide something in. So that is something that I don't think is really Boker's fault. And I haven't had a real GTC Federal to try it out on, but even in the videos I've seen, I don't see the real Federals going much farther or raising where it's just straight up. They all seem to have that, it's tilt, you know, it's an angle. You can't, it's not two pieces where it can just raise up and drop down. So I don't know how you're supposed to fit a thicker piece of cloth through there and get it in. The other thing too, I mean, well, it's still pretty tight right now. I haven't done a lot with it. It doesn't make as much noise as I think if you've seen some other videos where I tap it and it clinks around. And especially when you're moving this, you don't hear it at all. Let this thing focus back out. Yep. The action is good on this. It is smooth. The lockup, just so you can see, I'd say is about 30-35%. It's a very extremely radiused bottom part of the blade tang there. You can see how this comes down pretty radically. There's no lock bar insert. It's just regular titanium on steel, so it probably will wear in a little bit. That's the serial number, I guess, of the blade, the 0456. You have the standoffs. These standoffs match up with the same type of setup as the Federal. But yeah, smoothness. I mean, look, drops right in. There's no stick. There's no pinching anywhere. I mean, you could swing it right out that way. I'm just trying to show you guys here. You know, it's pretty good. It runs on the bearings that I guess Gustavo came up with. Supposedly it has the GTC bearings. Now centering, obviously so many people ask a lot about with Bokers. I'm sorry, there's the jimping on there. When you look down, it looks like it is centered. I mean, there's almost the same amount. You can see through the blade evenly on both sides. But really, it is off-center to the left slightly. But I don't even know where you would adjust it, because I feel like if you did try to tip the blade one way or the other, it's going to get too close from where the variances are from the blade to the handle. It's almost like it's closer on the right-hand side, maybe a little bit when you look at it, but you'd want to push it more towards that side anyways to have it centered. I don't know. It's not extremely bad. It isn't rubbing. I've been flipping this thing both for the video and today pretty much. I've been having fun with it. Price point on this, obviously most people see it's 147 bucks, 150 bucks for this knife. All titanium. I don't know what the grade of the titanium is. It might not be the best titanium in the world. This thing is actually made in China. That's what it says on the box. And the differences are with this, they did this kind of darker finish to it, and most of the Federals that you'll see out there have a shiny finish to them as far as the real ones. Carbon fiber. The texture, I mean, you feel a difference when you slide on the texture, but you really don't, there's no catching. Like, I don't really, maybe like right here you can catch a little bit. It's inlaid pretty well for, you know, for what you're talking about. The steel is something that probably a lot of people bring up. It's 440C, which probably gets a bad rap because you have a lot of people out there that, you know, let's talk about CPM 154, S30V. You can even get the LMAX at some low-cost prices as far as production knives go. It's a good steel, though. I mean, 440C is not bad. If it's treated well, it's good. It's strong. It's durable. It probably holds an edge decently. Now, this came from China. Did they really heat treat this well? That's what you have to ask yourself. I don't know. But I like that I have now a blade with 440C. Why not? And it was 150 bucks, which I get it. I said in the last video I thought the other one was very affordable, and I would say the same thing this. But once again, you can get knives for 20, 30 bucks. You can get knives for 15 bucks. You can get knives for 80 bucks. So you have people that are at those levels that they're like $150 for a knife, and it's Boker, and I don't know. I had no problem with this, you know. I wanted to see it and try it out. And right here I'll show you guys. This blade does show fingerprints very easily, so I'm sorry that I'm touching it now. It's going to show the rest of the video. But there's no side-to-side play. It's a rock. There's no front-to-back play. Like, I can't... It's locked in there. So that blade play, and I flipped this, I'd say right now, maybe about 50 or 60 times. You can't get any play out of the blade. When it locks in at the same place so far. If I really whip that thing out hard, it's right there. It slides out even without having a lock bar insert. There's no problem with getting it loose. Like I said, the really only issue is that it is slightly off center. I don't really know where the space is to change that on. And the other thing you can tell on this, if you look in here, see all those dark spots in there? I don't know if it's old grease or just the lines from where they jetted it out or cut it out, but it is kind of dirty, and that's not cool, you know, to get a new knife that's a little bit dirty like that. And if you look, it's the same thing when you push this in. It's hard to push it in and cover it up, but see that black stuff in there? Come on. Yeah. I don't know. It's weird. And I mean, it comes in the nice Boker box and everything, the magnetic box that closes and all that, but it has that, and it's in a cutout of a styrofoam or a polystyrene piece, but that has some kind of black felt on it. So I think that when it's traveling, the felt part rubs off while this is, you know, set in it, and maybe contributed to that darkness where it fell into these cracks and then stuck in there. And I don't know how you're supposed to get and clean that. Like, it's so thin to fit a rag, or even, and you don't want to put maybe even a Q-tip in there, because then you just get cotton stuff wadded up. It is a flow-through design, so you can blow it all out. So I might try blowing some compressed air through there. I talked about the jimping here. It's not as good as Gustavo's, obviously. It's produced, but I like having jimping on the knife anyways. So, and it's a design. It's good. The feel of it, it's blocky. You know, it's squared off, but it fills the hand decently. Let's see if I'm just destroying this thing now with the, like I said, this blade does show fingerprints, oils pretty easily on it. But you know, in this grip and the hand grip, you see it does come down to the bottom of the hand. In reverse grip, same thing. Your thumb kind of breaks over that, and you're good. So I'm enjoying it, and I like the action on it. Even one thing, because you can get enough pressure on this thing. Let's see if we can do this here. Look at that, pinky flick. You do have to load up on the flipper. And once again, this is a small flipper that like that 0801 was, but it's a really cool angle. You're just kind of, you are pushing down on it, or I guess stroking back, but look at that. I mean, pretty good for what you're talking about with Boker. Is this the same as the custom? No, I'm not getting to that, but I'm saying for a $150 knife, it totally looks cool because it has that design that was obviously developed by Gustavo. You have carbon fiber, you have titanium. You don't have the greatest, what we call the greatest steel in the world, but it's a good solid steel. It's not, there's no play on it either way. It has that cool clink sound, clink. I like it. You load up on it. It's a good flipper. You know, right-handed, left-handed. There you go. And just to give you some size comparisons, Rouse Reloader, Browse Triple Threat, and then here really what you want to see is the 0801 next to it. 3.27 inch blade, 3.5, 3.5, 3.5. You can see how even though this is a smaller blade and this is 8.2 overall, this is 7.95 overall, it fits in nicely, has that slimmer line to it. And if you can get the pocket clip to fit on your pocket, it works great. Otherwise, you're going to have to let this thing just sit at the bottom of your pocket, which isn't that bad. I mean, who cares? Drop it in the bottom of your pocket, let it sit there. It's not going to take up that much space. But that's my thoughts on it, guys. Hope you like it, and I'll get this and some other videos going for you. Pretty soon I'm going to do an overview or overall video of all my production knives I got in and kind of compare them and do some cut tests. So get ready for that. Thanks a lot. Bye.